$87,000. That's what the HOA ended up forking over after they tried to run me out for fixing my own roof. All because one woman with a title and a chip on her shoulder decided she could intimidate an old man and his 180-year-old house. They called the cops 3 times, threatened fines, turned me into the neighborhood villain overnight just for daring to keep my family's legacy from falling apart. But what Christine Palmer, our illustrious HOA president, never realized was I'd been quietly preparing for years, watching, listening, collecting every detail, every slip-up. So when she turned up the heat, I was ready with a counterattack that would turn the entire community upside down. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just have to let a bully show their cards before you reveal your own. That storm, the one that kicked all this off, blew in on a Monday night so wild it rattled the whole block awake. By sunrise, there were shingles missing and water already creeping into my late wife Martha's sewing room, the place where she'd stitched quilts for our grandkids by the dozen, humming church tunes to herself as the seasons turned. I couldn't let that room fall apart. Not on my watch. So I did what any homeowner with half a backbone would do, grabbed my old ladder and my hammer, and got to work before the morning fog even burned off. At 72, you respect gravity, but you don't cower from it. Every time my boot hit that wooden rung, I thought about my great-great-grandfather, how he cleared this land with nothing but his hands and built this house board by board, 5 generations. Every beam has a story. But apparently the sound of a hammer at dawn was too much for some folks who never learned what honest work looks like. I heard the telltale click of heels coming down the sidewalk. Didn't even need to look to know it was Christine. She came marching up, blonde hair shellacked into place binder, hugged to her chest, like it was the Constitution itself. "Harold," she barked, "you can't just hammer away at 6 a.m. without HOA approval," the kind of voice that could sour milk. I looked down from my ladder sweat already stinging my eyes. Here she was in clothes that cost more than my Social Security check, citing Section 12B, like we were in a courtroom instead of a storm-ravaged neighborhood. I put down my hammer and took my time coming down, making sure every step was measured. "Ma'am, I'm just fixing my roof. Been doing it 40 years. But reasoning with Christine was like arguing with a thunderstorm, pointless and liable to get you struck. Linda Ross, my neighbor for 15 years, wandered over, coffee in hand, shaking her head in a way that said she'd seen this rodeo before. "Don't mind her, Harold," she said loud enough for Christine to hear. "She's been itching for a fight since they gave her that president's badge." That simple act, handing me coffee, stood in sharper contrast to Christine's binder waving than anything I could say. But Christine was just getting started. She leafed through her rules with the ferocity of a prosecutor on closing arguments, reading aloud about exterior modifications requiring written approval and how construction can only happen 9 to 5. Meanwhile, from where I stood, her house looked like an episode of Extreme Home Makeover, new pool house, extended garage, second story where there wasn't one last year. All gleaming in the morning sun like the world's most expensive middle finger. I kept my tone steady. "Ma'am, I know about construction. And permits." I caught something flicker in her eyes. Guilt fear. Maybe just the cold sweat of someone realizing they've overplayed their hand. She quickly snapped back to her script. "This is about standards. Harold, rules are rules." Then she spun on her heel, barking, "I'm calling the police," as she retreated to her palace of new additions. Linda lingered, sipping her coffee, and shot me a look. 30 years in the tax office, Harold. You'd be amazed what folks try to hide from the county. She left that hanging just enough for me to catch her drift. Property tax evaluation, unreported improvements. The kind of thing that keeps auditors up at night. Yeah, I thought. Maybe Christine should have picked another hill to die on. An hour later, here came Officer Martinez, looking every bit the rookie who'd rather be handling traffic tickets than HOA drama. He scanned my storm-damaged roof, then looked over at Christine watching us from her porch like a vulture. "Sir, we got a complaint about unauthorized construction." I pointed to the missing shingles, the water stains already bleeding through Martha's ceiling. Just emergency repairs, officer. You can see the damage yourself. He nodded, clearly torn between duty and common sense. He called over to Christine. Ma'am, this looks like standard storm repair. HOA approval isn't required for emergencies. Christine's face turned a shade of red you only see on stop signs. But he didn't get approval. Martinez held his ground. Ma'am, this is a civil matter. If you have a dispute, take it up with the HOA or civil court. Christine stomped back inside, but I'd seen enough. Those new gutters fresh, wiring the seamless addition that didn't match any original plans. I was looking at thousands in improvements. I took mental notes. 40 years in construction, you learn to spot every shortcut, every cut corner. The next morning at 6 sharp, I was back at it. This time, Officer Thompson showed up, clipboard in hand, more stern than the last. Sir, another complaint. Noise and possible code violations. I told him I was working regular hours just patching storm damage. He admitted there was nothing illegal, just that they had to document the dispute. Meanwhile, Christine hovered in her doorway, arms crossed, like a general watching her troops retreat. Officer, our standards matter. Thompson sighed. Ma'am, HOA rules are private. You'll have to settle that yourselves. That night, with Linda's help, I dug into local permit records. The deeper we looked, the more rotten the whole system smelled. Linda grinned. If someone didn't report all those upgrades, could owe thousands in back taxes plus penalties. Hypothetically, of course, I laughed. Hypothetically, sure. But in my head, a plan was starting to form. A week later, Christine doubled down. This time, 2 squad cars, 4 officers, serious faces. Sir, we need to inspect for safety hazards and unpermitted work. I invited them in, led them through my house, every century-old beam, every photo from the 1800s, the legacy of 5 generations. This house stood through the Civil War, the Great Depression, 2 world wars, and no one ever needed approval to fix a roof. They respected that. But I turned the tables. Did Christine get permits for her pool house, that new garage, 2nd story? The officers traded glances. That's not what we're here for, sir. When they left, I looked at Linda and said, time for a comprehensive tax assessment. Don't you think? Linda's eyes lit up. Harold, I still know people at the office. And this is more than just one house. This whole neighborhood's been cheating the system. That night with public records, we started our own audit property by property. Pools, garages, additions, outdoor kitchens, all missing from official records. It wasn't just Christine, it was everyone. What happens when the tax office gets a tip like that full-scale reassessment? Thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands in back taxes, penalties, and interest. All legal. No threats, no harassment. Just the law doing what it's supposed to do. I filed a formal complaint, detailed photographic evidence, cost estimates, you name it. Linda signed off on it herself. When the letters from the tax office started arriving, they hit mailboxes like wrecking balls. Each thick envelope stamped urgent red ink on white. People panicked. HOA meetings went off the rails. Christine screamed about betrayal. The very same folks who'd cheered her rulebook now turned on her demanding answers. Nobody suspected me. I sat in the back quiet, sipping coffee. I've just been fixing my roof. I shrugged when the subject of a whistleblower came up. Linda backed me up, straight-faced. Meanwhile, the reassessments rolled on with government inspectors measuring every inch, snapping photos, tallying bills. Panic became paranoia. Neighbors accused each other, hired private eyes, but found nothing. The first tax bills sent shockwaves, $22,000 for one family, $28,000 for another. It kept climbing. Then Christine got hers, $52,000. I'll never forget the scream from her kitchen window, the way she clung to that letter like it was a death sentence. Her face drained of color. Her knees buckled. Her kingdom collapsed in a single afternoon. The whole neighborhood owed more than $125,000 in back taxes, just like I predicted. Christine showed up at my door in tears, all her old bravado gone. Harold, please, I know it was you. Why did you do this? What did I ever do to you?" Her desperation was pitiful almost. I sat her down and told her the truth. 40 years in construction, most of them working for the tax assessment office. I know every trick in the book. You never bothered to learn who you were messing with. She tried to bargain, offered to drop all my violations, resign as president, anything to make it stop. But it was too late. The law was in motion, and even I couldn't stop it now. Within a month, her mansion was up for sale at a fraction of its new value. Christine left the neighborhood a pariah. The HOA dissolved. Neighbors breathed easier. The old guard had fallen. My house, still standing good as ever, roof fixed, Martha's sewing room dry, the legacy of honest work and quiet patience stronger than ever. Funny, isn't it? They called the cops on me 3 times for repairing my own roof. In the end, the whole neighborhood paid the price for one woman's pettiness and everyone else's greed. So here's my advice. Never mess with an old man who knows the system better than you do. Now, what do you think? Was I right or did I go too far? Drop your thoughts below. Who's really to blame? The rule enforcer or the rule breaker? Let's hear it. And if you enjoyed a taste of old-fashioned justice, stick around, because in this neighborhood the stories only get wilder.